welcome to Whole Soul School and Foundation. I'm Marie Mohler, and I'm an author, intuitive, and co-founder of Whole Soul School and Foundation. I'm inviting you to our Mind, Body, Spirit Fitness podcast, our first of 2020. And I want to remind our listeners that Whole Soul School and Foundation is dedicated to the liberation, education, enrichment, and integration of the heart and mind and soul in people worldwide. And we also support projects and products that are specifically designed to educate and inspire people whose lives have been impacted by incarceration and who desire to live a more authentic, meaningful, and empowered life. Joining us today is Mary Lozano, who is an intuitive life coach and a certified spiritual response therapy practitioner. She is also the creator and founder of Restoring the Flow, through which she provides SRT sessions to help people release, restore, rebalance, and realign the organic flow in their lives. So welcome, Mary. I'm so happy to be in this conversation with you today.
Thank you, Marie. Nice to be here.
Yeah. So I'm delighted to be talking with our listeners today. We're going to be focusing in the mind, body, spirit, fitness theme. And we have entered January 2020, and it's a big year of rebuilding, resetting, reorienting, restructuring, and realigning our lives through co-creation, and raising our consciousness to connect with our gifts and our talents and our light inside us. And one of the things, Mary, that comes to mind for me when I think about that whole process that 2020 is offering to all of us, and as we connect with this rebuilding year and this realignment inside ourselves to what's more true of who we are, I feel that concept of flow, of connecting with who we really are. And also there's this theme of synchronicity that we've brought into our podcast through Whole Soul School and Foundation this month, because it's something that James Redfield in the Celestine Insights talks about, synchronicity and meaningful coincidences with his first insight. So, this energy of flow and synchronicity is a very important topic in our lives right now, because it's all about us aligning with who we are. And that yet some of us, and myself included, I have felt sometimes where there seems to be a block to that flow, right? Or, there's a feeling of constriction or tightening up or playing small in some way. And so, I'd love to get your perspective on what you feel like. What does flow mean to you? When you're in the flow of your life, how are you feeling inside yourself? And in what way do you feel flow show up in your experience?
To me, flow is just being in a state of connection with spirit, in open connection, receptiveness with spirit, with my guides, releasing the blocks, releasing the energies that are holding us back from being in perfect alignment with who we are at a soul level, with the connections that we have with spirit, with divine source, with the universe. And by clearing the discordant energies and releasing all of the misperceptions and beliefs and triggers that are holding us back from being who we are, from allowing us to move forward in love and light. When we release discordant energies, when we release erroneous beliefs, misperceptions, untruths that we're holding about who we are, things that have been said to us in our childhoods by our parents, by people in authority, by friends, by family, by anyone who's held us back in any way, whether consciously or unconsciously. When we're able to release all of these energies and release all of these blocks, we're able to move into a flow, into an openness, into a a restoration of who we are at a cellular level. um, uh, we're able to move forward on our divine plan of who it is that we are, that we truly are, what it is that we're here to do energetically. And by restoring our flow, we're able to more fully connect with others from a heart-centered perspective. We're able to release the bonds. We're able to just open ourselves up to healing in however that presents itself to us, whether it's at a physical level, at an emotional, mental, spiritual level. We're able to more fully move forward with our aspirations and our desires and our gifts. We're able to really truly connect with our gifts of who we are, of what spirit is guiding us to manifest. And it just being in the flow allows us to open ourselves up to the abundance of life, and abundance not just monetarily, but abundance of energy and good health and loving relationships and friendships and synchronicities and miracles, along with those financial prosperities and abundances that most of us are looking to manifest in our lives. Um,
Yeah, it's really a beautiful stream of receiving, and receiving is an energy that reminds me also of a skill that we have, which is allowing, and that opening, and all the words that we're talking about are energies that really come through our heart centers. And our conditioning in this world doesn't always support us to stay in our hearts. You see little kids playing, and somewhere around 2, 3, 4, they're all friends. You can take a kid to any park, and they'll just start playing together, and they'll include each other, and they'll share their trucks or their things that they're playing with, and they're very much in their heart center. And then there's a certain age, it's somewhere between 5 and 7 or 8 for a lot of us, where it's conditioned out of us, where we have experiences where we don't feel safe. We don't feel safe to share. We don't feel safe to be who we are. We don't feel safe um, to be in that place of openness, and that sharing energy, and that receptiveness, and that allowing. And it starts very early it's kind of a global conditioning in many ways, where we start to learn that's not okay. It's not okay to talk to those people. It's not okay to be myself. It's not okay to share what I love to do, or to be happy, or whatever it is. We start, even though we're growing physically at these young ages, our consciousness and our connectedness, that's such a big energy of who we really are, starts to already getting smaller. And then as we're growing larger, in our human development, through our teen years and our early adult years, right? We're much bigger than we were when we were 2 or 3, but it's like our big spirit gets much smaller to sort of find a way to accommodate this world that teaches us about limits and lack and not having enough and not being loved or not being accepted or not belonging. And, somewhere in there, we've all had experiences, or we've been exposed to experiences where we've witnessed other people at least having some of those experiences. And all those things collectively create kind of a block to our flow, right? If you see a stream flowing and there's branches and debris, it kind of blocks up the flow of the water. And that kind of happens inside us. When I was listening to you talking about that feeling of flow and alignment and kind of a freedom, right? And a synergistic connection inside ourselves. And then you think about a lot of our lives in a regular 3D Earth planet, where there's a lot of challenge and stress and sense of overwhelm. And so there are things that enter our lives that create these blocks to our flow. And then I think we hold on to them, don't we, Mary? We sort of tuck them away as wounds, or memories that we have that form attachments, and then our new experiences um, tend to come into our life, but often through the filters of some of those wounds and some of those challenges that we had in an earlier point in our lives. And so flow is such a short little word, 4 letters, right? It seems like it would be such an easy thing to do and to live and to be in our lives. And yet, I would imagine that a lot of our listeners have had experiences where they don't feel they're in the flow of their lives. They don't feel things are lining up for them. They feel like life is hard, life is a challenge, that relationships can be challenging, or, in any of the ways that living our lives today can pose a challenge. Flow, we've made it complicated, right? Just like our spirit knows itself. We know who we are inside. A 2-year-old doesn't necessarily say, I don't know who I am. They know how to play. They know how to have fun. They know how to be curious and explore, and everything's pretty exciting to a 2-year-old, right? As we get older, we've had so many experiences, it makes it more complicated. And then we have a hard time finding our way back to that little kid who was courageous and brave and curious and happy and playful and open and allowing and flowful. And, a lot of our lives are finding ways and finding modalities that can help us get back to that place where we're trusting ourselves. We're trusting that everything is aligned. We're meant to have blessings in our lives. And I think you use the word miracles, right? And magic. And when we find that place of flow inside ourselves, it is magical. It's like, there are moments you see an athlete, you can see an athlete on the basketball court or in a volleyball, match, or, anything where they just can't not make a basket. They just get in the zone and they get in the flow and everything's aligned. And everybody watching that can feel that alignment. That's not just meant for that athlete, that's meant for all of us. We're all meant to have that kind of flow. And yet sometimes we need help to restore that flow, which is what you've made some of your life's work about. You're here to help people, I guess, identify, and I'd like to hear more about that, identify those points of trauma in their lives, or drama, or things that just aren't working right, or just slightly out of balance, but can create a torque in our system or a distorted way of thinking that blocks our flow. And so I'd imagine you see that in a lot of the people that you work with.
Yes, that is the case. One of the things that I look at are the energies that we hold with others, that we hold around situations, that we hold around childhood memories. And that's something that I start working with spirit to clear the discordant energies, to clear the blocks to positive expression, doing inner child work to clear blocks. Because a lot of times when we come into this world, whether consciously or unconsciously, one of our parents can block us, and there's no judgment around it. It's just, we're all carrying our own levels of pain and suffering and energies and traumas, and we just bring that forward onto our children and onto our relationships. And so one of the things that I work on is just clearing the inner child, helping to bring it to a state of joy and a state of healing, so that it can be in the flow. And just working with the conscious and the subconscious level, a lot of times we'll experience triggers. We think we've done enough work on a particular area of our life and enough healing, and we don't always understand, well, why is it that when this particular thing happens in my life, I just get triggered? Yeah. And so a lot of times we just have to go and take a look at the subconscious and bring it to the forefront, so that we can, have that awareness of where that's coming from, and we can just clear it, so that we can move forward, from a state of grace and joy, and just positivity, because we don't always understand, where these emotions or these feelings or these, discordant connections we have with others are necessarily coming from. But once we bring it to our awareness, we're able to release it and let it go. And a lot of the other work that I do is around forgiveness. A lot of times we're holding
Mm.
on to things and we don't quite understand, the levels of unforgiveness that we're holding towards somebody, and how that's affecting our lives, and how that's, hurting us. So, what I tell people is that, when we, uh, forgive somebody, it's not so much that we're, releasing, or releasing them of the harmful act. It's that we're forgiving them for ourselves, so that we can release them from our energy field, and so that we're able to move forward. And it's just very interesting how a lot of the, discordant energies, a lot of the blocks that we're holding, stem from unforgivenesses that we're holding in our lives, that we really need to, have the awareness around, and do the work to just let that go, so that we can move forward, um, in a state of grace and love.
Yeah, it's so true. And when I'm listening to you talk about forgiveness and the unforgivenesses we carry, I was feeling two things when when you were sharing that, is that, it was brought to my attention through my guidance that we really live our lives in layers, and we have layers of beliefs and layers of blocks, and we have layers of energies inside us. We're like a computer system, how you can look through all your files. And I know even when I get a new computer, it doesn't take me long before I have a whole bunch of files stacked up on my desktop. And that's kind of like us. And if 2 years go by or 5 years go by and we don't clean out those old files, they're still in there. And just like you and I know, we can go to our computer systems and we can look for those old files and we can pull them up and they're still there. And so when I feel us living our lives in layers, and there's so many energetic layers inside us. And a lot of these packets of energy that can create blocks to our flow, they've simply become vibrational habits. They become kind of a default vibration, that it's either sitting there dormant, but it's still there, or they're vibrational habits that we're engaged in every day. And sometimes we're not even aware that we're doing them. We're not even conscious of the issues that we might be carrying around, some unforgiveness, until something comes along in our lives to trigger. And all of a sudden we feel ourselves get hot or angry or sad or weepy, or we're afraid. And those emotions are our greatest gifts, because they're cueing us that there's a packet of energy, there's a block to our flow that's rising. And a lot of people they don't have that kind of vision to appreciate the trigger for what it is. Most of the time, a lot of people might try to push it away or avoid it or deny it. But doing those things just leaves that same packet of energy, that same parcel of energy in our field that's going to keep vibrating until we do look at it. And forgiveness is, I think, a huge one for a lot of people, because um, we have so many experiences in our lifetimes, and we record each and every one. And when we can learn the skills to move through some of the old energies of unforgiveness, we get lighter, which helps our flow. It helps us to align more with our open heart centers that want to create new, beautiful experiences. Flow leads us to joy, and joy leads us to flow. That's what you see little kids when they're in their inner child and they're playing. They're in that beautiful open-hearted space. But then when you've had some painful experiences, right? Or things that make you afraid. And we're very good recorders too. We're very impressionable. And so early on in our lives, it doesn't take too many times where we were afraid or we felt like we didn't belong or we felt shame. Shame is probably a really big one, that's kind of a block to our flow, because shame is deeply intertwined with fear. And then we package it up, and shame is the kind of thing that you really don't want to look at because it's so uncomfortable. We don't want to even look at it to be able to heal it. And so, there is a certain amount of courage involved in being willing to look at some of these blocks to our energetic flow. But if we take on some of the small things, and we can even have a facilitator like you, Mary, who can help walk people through this process, blocks don't have to be blocks forever, right? They're just blocks until we set them free, until we clear them and we let them go. And so, I think our world, in many ways, many people are walking around thinking, that's just the way life is. That's just the way my life went. I just got sort of the short end of the stick, right? Or, just good things don't happen for me. Or, we have certain beliefs that those good things happen for other people, but not for me. Whatever we locked in on in our belief system, it's still there, but it doesn't have to be there forever. We just need new tools. And what I love about the work that you do, Mary, is that you, it's the spiritual response therapy, the SRT. You're an SRT practitioner. You can actually help people heal at the kind of the spiritual level, isn't that right? Which is beyond the emotional level and the physical level of the emotions and the memories that we have, right? Goes a
Yes.
little deeper.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's interesting how the universe has a way of um, bringing things back to our awarenesses when we haven't, when we've had an experience and haven't taken the time to um, have that awareness, that make the connections around why something is happening, or maybe if we haven't made an attempt to try to look a little deeper into why things are happening, the universe has this way of just bringing it back to our awareness until we are able um, to fully look at it and say, okay, it's time to heal. It's time to release this. It's time to let this go, whether it's bitterness or, if we've had rejections or abandonments in our lives, whether it's anger or frustration or whatever these energies are, we're holding them. We're holding them at the cellular level. We're holding them in our organs, in our glands, in every aspect of our being, our layers of our bodies, whether mentally, emotionally. And if we don't look at these things, then it becomes more challenging to move forward and to rise above it. And so this having this awareness and just developing a sense of gratitude around having a simple awareness. I mean, I feel that gratitude is just a tremendous way to really get the ball rolling, so to speak, because spirit will work with us. The universe will come and meet us halfway and say, okay, you're grateful, you're open, you're receptive, you're developing this awareness, you're understanding that there's something here that needs to be looked at. Let's look at it, and spirit, the universe will find opportunities for you to work on it, whatever tools those are, whether it's going to a bookstore and just having that book fall off the bookshelf and recognizing that, oh gosh, maybe there's a tool in here that I can
Right.
use, or there's an inspiration. You come across something on social media and there's this beautiful inspiration that comes through, through a quote or something, a blog or something that you read that just really inspired you to maybe start looking at things a little differently, or recognizing that, gosh, maybe if I um, if I start setting affirmations, or starting off the day with a positive intention, or doing just a mindful meditation, or just having some level of awareness or connection, or gratitude, or just openness to whatever comes through. It's tremendous. It's wonderful. And whether that means working with a healing practitioner, that just listening for the guidance, connecting, and just being open and receptive to what comes through, and surrendering.
Surrendering, exactly. And when I feel the word surrendering, I think I've said it on some of the other podcasts, but the word, when I learned some of my biggest lessons about surrendering, and I think we all get to a point in our life, there's some trigger or there's some experience where we're really tested and we're really invited to learn what true surrender means. I learned that one of the magic words, because I didn't quite know how to surrender. Like, again, these words seem like simple things, but we're so conditioned to work hard or make things complicated that we almost complicate ourselves, that the simple process of surrendering is easier, but we often feel like we don't know how to do things, or we try and we don't know how to do it. And the bridge to actually be able to surrender for me was the word willing. I am willing. And there's something about saying that phrase that was non-threatening to me. It didn't mean that instantly I had surrendered everything. I didn't feel pressed to judging myself that I announced that I was surrendering something, and a minute later I could feel it's still here. Like, right, I surrender, oh right, 2 minutes later it's still here. And people can feel that way about their blocks or their triggers. A lot of people want them to be gone, want those to not be a companion in their life anymore, but they just don't know how to let it go. They don't know how to surrender it. And when I found those words, I am willing to be in a place of surrender. I am willing to try this new experience. I'm willing to get clear on what it is that I'm afraid of. I'm willing to feel those feelings that I had in that experience from long, long ago. So I can really look at it, and maybe with the help of a therapist or a coach, or somebody in a support role who can let me practice this process of letting go and mirror to me that it's safe to let these things go, and help me to get some skills. That I am willing was such a beautiful gift that my guidance system gave me to help me move into surrendering with a greater feeling inside myself of succeeding in that, of like letting. I didn't have to wrestle with what I was trying to let go of. I didn't have to judge it. I didn't have to fight with it. Just being willing says, I'm on my way, right? I'm taking the first step. And the first step is being willing to change, being willing to have a new experience, being willing to get help, right? And being willing to get the support we need. And that's a big part of the journey, isn't it? It's like letting go just into that willingness, because we go from talking about something, talking about, just like anything. I'm sure we have our bucket lists or our to-do lists. I'll get to that when, you know what I mean? I'll clean up my garage, or I'll repaint the house, or, we all have our to-do list. But if something doesn't come from inside us to take that first action step, or that next shift in our vibration or our belief system, it stays on the list and we never get to it. So I know that a lot of us have things that we're carrying around inside us: unforgivenesses, fears, triggers, traumas, just experiences in our lives that didn't go well. And we also have somewhere inside us things that we want to be experiencing and doing. And we have these lists that we're aware of. And yet sometimes we just feel paralyzed to create any movement around that. And what is flow? Flow is all about creating a kind of inner movement. So the sticks or the debris in the stream, which is our old blocks, can actually, you know, flow away. They can clear. A path can be made. I don't know if you know. Do you know Michael Beckwith? Do you know? Um,
Yes, I
and I love his quote that he says. I mean, I think the first time I heard it, I had chills all over my body. And every time I've heard it since, I still have the same response. When there is no way and no how, a way will be made, right? And that's a very deep surrendering into a trust that if I'm blocked, or there's just seems like no way I can use the resources I have to manifest or create this thing in my life that I want, or this healing that I desire. When there's no way and no how, a way will be made. And to me, that's also a flow will be created. You can manifest this in your life no matter where you are, no matter what you're facing, no matter what challenges you've got going on, or what you want to manifest and create. It goes both ways, whether we're clearing or we're manifesting a new joy. Either way, we have to create that movement inside us that takes us into that place of flow and being willing and surrendering and trusting that there's a wisdom inside us that's going to guide this process, right?
absolutely.
It's extraordinary. And we are wired, aren't we, to have this inside us. And sometimes we have to bounce into a show. Like if somebody's hearing this podcast and this is the first time you're hearing this, kind of giving yourself permission to have a better experience, giving yourself permission to connect with people who are already tapped into that kind of flow in their lives. Sometimes it helps to be in the presence of somebody who's knowing that themselves, and they're just a mirror to you that know great things for you too. And so I spent a lot of my time in my early awakening connecting with teachers and speakers and people who were clearly already tapped in and turned on and activated in their light, and they had cleared some things. And I love just listening to them, like Michael Beckwith, and James Redfield were talking about his Celestine insights. But each of us, have activated in our gifts, and it's fabulous. It's a fabulous feeling. But I remember the first time I was kind of waking up to the concept that I am the creator of my life. That was a huge, I always kind of intuitively had a sense of that, but I had never read that that's actually kind of a law of the universe, that it's true, that we literally are creating our lives in every moment. And we can create our lives anew. If there's an experience that we created before, we can recreate that in a new way now. We can heal whatever that is. We're not saddled with our traumas and our wounds. They just hang out with us until we let them go. And I think what's unique about people with your skills, Mary, is that you work at the level of moving energy. And there's a lot of modalities that there's family therapy and individual therapy, and there's all kinds of things that people can engage to try and heal these parts of ourselves that still clearly trigger with some things in our lives. But when we're not working at the level of energy, we're still, in my experience, when we're not we're engaging our spirit, when we're not engaging our soul, when we're not working at the level of our chakra system and our energy fields and our consciousness, it's kind of like putting a band-aid on something, because we can talk about a lot of things, even physical ailments. We can have the doctors, remove certain things, or, prescribe a certain medication to erase the symptoms. But none of those medications heal at the energetic level. And if that energetic patterning is still running, then the creation is going to manifest, right, from that energetic patterning. And to have modalities like what you do, Mary, is extraordinary, that we can really get into at the energetic level, heal and inspire ourselves to create a different life from wherever we are today to whatever it is that we truly want to feel. We really have to take those energetic steps that are left out of most of the mainstream consciousness, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt, what have you always been fairly intuitive and empathic?
Um, Most of my life, as a child, I connected fully with angels, and so I feel like they've been a big part of my life, and they've been with me through a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, but I started to learn about SRT about 17 years ago, and started having healing sessions for myself, and just the energetic shifts were uh, miraculous. It's just
Yeah.
the and just how quickly um, I started to see positive results uh, were a miracle, really. And I'm just very grateful um, for the introduction to SRT and to just energy work as a whole. Um, just
It's profound. I think the level of healing that people can receive when they tap into that level of the deepest energy source, when you can get to the root of an energy inside you that's been creating patterns that are things you don't want in your life, but yet they keep recreating. When you can get to that energetic root, it is a miracle. It is a
absolutely.
miracle. It's like this just sort of gremlin on your shoulder that you know you don't, sometimes you know you don't want to behave that way. And yet the gremlin still comes out because the pattern supporting and feeding the gremlin is still there. And
Yes.
it's,
Every aspect of my life changed for the better. Relationships, um, health, just self love, first and foremost. I just really connected with myself. Um, Prosperity, abundance. I mean, every aspect of my life just opened up to me tremendously. And I am just so grateful.
would you say, I know it works at the energetic level, but it does feel to me, I don't know too much about SRT, but it feels like a spiritual awareness therapy. It's like bringing the consciousness to it, something kind of, it helps it to release.
Absolutely. It brings an awareness. It increases the level of consciousness, and it releases at an energetic level. It releases at the physical, at the mental, spiritual, emotional level, because we can be carrying these energies in one or all four of our boundaries. So the energy clears at the physical, mental, spiritual, emotional level. It can be trapped in all four layers, or it can be trapped in one or several. It This work just clears the muscles. It clears the bones, the organs. Just any aspect of the physical being. I mean, it's just so beautiful. It clears psychic wounds, entities. A lot of times, um,
Mhm.
we'll have beings attached to a certain organ, a certain part of the body, and we're wondering, well, gosh, why does that hurt? Or why is that sore? Or why am I feeling limitations around this? And it's just something that's attached that we just need to release, and not have any judgment around it, and just let that move on to wherever it needs to go, and then we're clear. So
It's amazing. And do people come in, like in a session with you, they come in and they probably have a report of symptoms or something they're going through or an issue that keeps repeating? Is that kind of how that works? And then you can pick up on the trail of that energy and sort of track it in their energy field? Is that kind of how it works?
yes, so I work with clients on the phone. They'll call in and share what it is that they're wanting to work on, whether it's some relationship clearing, or energies. They may be feeling anxiety or depression, or just some level of discordant energies, or something at the physical level. and I'll connect with spirit and I'll ask for guidance around, okay, what is it that we need to focus on, or what is the priority? And so I'll go through the list and say, okay, well, we're going to work on, something at the physical level or something at the emotional level.
Mm.
And it's interesting because a lot of times by the time we've worked through that, there's nothing left to clear because it was all uh, there was a direct correlation between one and the other, which I think is really interesting when we start to make the connections around how one energy can affect different aspects of our being, and so it's
Wow.
really
That's,
interesting. Yes,
it's amazing. So I'd imagine in even just one session or just a few sessions, people can be so much more clear. That there is there a sense that there's almost kind of like an immediate relief in the clearing? Do most people feel a sense of like, oh, I feel so much better?
absolutely. One of the things that I hear most is that they feel a sense of peace and
Mm,
calm.
yeah.
And I just think that's beautiful.
It is. It's kind of like that sensation when we get reset, right? We get reset back to our, our perfection in a way. It's kind of all the baggage keeps us away from that peaceful perfection, and we don't hear enough in shows or conversations or wherever whether we read it, we watch it on TV or whatever. We don't hear a lot of messages about that we are designed to be in perfect alignment. We are designed to have peace and calm and harmony in our lives. We are designed to feel joy and to play and to listen for our talents and to express who we are. We're designed to be authentic and all of those powerful positive vibrations I'm describing. And yet our world doesn't often reflect that to us. And so I'd imagine when people have a session with you and they can actually, like, in a matter of an hour or a couple of hours, that they can feel that inside. And that's when you see out of the complexity of our lives is this simplicity, right? We really are wired to have this beautiful energetic experience inside us every day of health and wealth and joy and grace and peace and all those things. And when our life isn't looking like that, it's really just a cue for us to work with someone like you who can go through the different, our different energy bodies, right? And our different boundaries, as you described, the physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional, and all the layers of our being. And you can actually access some of those things and clear them out. And all we're doing, what I'm hearing from you, is we're restoring our natural buoyancy. We're meant to be light. And it's all these blocks and these triggers and these wounds that keep us heavy and dense and really who we're not. But then our world reinforces that, like, all those, I call them sandbags in my other work that I do in my blogs. But like, if each wound that people have is a sandbag, we're not taught early on at 5 or 6 or 7 that we can clear those feelings, right? So we carry them. Now we're 10, now we're 15, we're 25, we're 50. We might be 90 years old, and all these sandbags of all these blocks and these painful experiences just piled one on top of the other. And they become friends. They just become, like, companions in the journey. And we're slogging through our lives with all this weight, but we're actually meant to be much more buoyant and joyful and free spirited and trying things on, and like kids who play dress up and try on all these kinds of experiences. It's hard to try things on with joy and and embrace the opportunity of newness and creation, which we're talking about, and definitely a theme for 2020, that we're building new things, we're exploring new ways of being, we're co-creating together a new kind of a new world, a new planetary experience based in more of a unity consciousness. And it's very hard to join that community of light when we're like dragging along all of our sandbags of all of our wounds. And so it's so powerful that there are modalities like this, right? Like the SRT therapy. And, probably combining your other intuitive coaching skills that you have and your abilities as an empath, to help people see some of the things that they see evidence of in their lives and their patterns, but they can't see where it is. Where's the root? Where's that core vibration that keeps sending out into my field, recreating the same pattern that I'd really like to release? And it's amazing. I'm so grateful. Has SRT been around for a long time, or
It's
is it? Yeah,
since the mid 80s.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes,
It's kind of like it's another modality like EFT. I think got more attention in, was it the 90s, but it's 80s, 90s maybe. I don't know when that was developed, but tapping on the meridians of your body, and that can really help release some energetic blockages that we have. And I think, and the simplicity of these things is extraordinary. It doesn't require surgery. It's not hundreds of thousands of dollars. We can actually get clear with very little monetary investment, but a lot of energetic commitment to sort of see the value in energetically clearing our lives out, right? It's
absolutely.
valuing it. It's valuing it, right?
Absolutely. And taking ownership,
Yeah.
um, about taking ownership of what we're holding. So we develop the awareness around it, and then we make the conscious choice to make positive changes, to move
Yeah.
towards releasing whatever this is that we're holding, so that we can move forward in a state of flow, in a state of grace, self love, uh, kindness, gentleness, whatever these, whatever it is that we're moving towards, these positive energies that we're all striving to achieve and connect with and feel and experience.
Yeah, it is. It does take, I know for sure in my journey, it took, well, it took a big trigger. It took a big catalyzing experience. And some of us have that. Some of us have a very triggering catalytic moment in our lives where, push comes to shove and, we must shift. We must clear in order to move forward. We have to. And some of us get little whisperings. We just get little invitations that are gentle and subtle. And some of us have a combination of the two. But I know, when I was invited through a catalytic experience, it took some determination, it took some courage, it took a willingness to step into it and to follow it through, because I know, myself included, before my big catalyst, I'd had some other challenges, I'm sure, in my life through high school or college or whatever. I'm sure we all have some things to grow through, but nothing that hit my radar screen enough that I was really going to turn and shift and learn a new way. And so, how we can change just enough to get relief? I think sometimes people are looking for relief versus really clearing it at the root, or clearing the deeper energetic pattern so you can really pivot and go move on into a whole different experience. And so I resonate with what you're talking about too, and I'm sure many of our listeners will, is that it takes some commitment. It takes, like, you know, it's like, I guess, having like I don't know the massage language, but I think there's a massage you can go to have to feel good, right? A feel good massage. And then you can go and have like deep tissue massage. Or I had a frozen shoulder for nearly most of 2019. And I went to a massage therapist, and it was not a fun massage session. It was incredibly painful as she was trying to massage all the scar tissue and things that were binding up my muscles and my structure. And so, but there was a commitment I had, because when you can't use your arm and you can't move your shoulder for a year, it's very limiting. And so in that scenario, I found a commitment to find what I needed. And in the end, it was a whole different alignment of supplements that actually oiled me from the inside out. I felt like the Tin Man. But it took a commitment to even find that. I kept saying, I'm not going to just accept a frozen shoulder. And I think, and I'm not looking for simple relief. I'm looking to heal it at the root. And I found something through a friend of mine, and a whole thing that's all about healing at the root. So it was a perfect alignment. And I think that's what people are seeking. I think initially we might be attracted to get relief, but I think we all know after the initial relief, there's more work to do because it'll just resurface. It just comes back if we don't do the true work to clear it out. And I'm so grateful for coaches and healers and practitioners like you, Mary, who have developed these skills in your own life. You've seen the value of it in your own life, right? And then you've become certified to be able to help others in their journey have that kind of release, restoration, rebalancing, and realigning experience in their life. And makes me want to sign up for a session. I feel like I'm going to be calling you soon. It would be fabulous to experience that, and for myself, for sure, and for anybody seeking healing right now. If you feel blocked in some way, or you're finding yourself triggered, or it doesn't even have to be something like that. You can just feel like you're not shining as bright, or you're not living as free as you want to, and you're just, there's something about you, it's hard to give yourself permission to be who you really are. I would imagine some of this therapy, this method, can really help people get clear. And I have to say it again, we're in the year of 2020, which we all know is clear vision, right? So we want to see ourselves clearly this year. We want to become willing to see the things that are holding us back from our full potential. And the world is needing our gifts now. The world needs us to step up and enjoy who we are and love who we are and bring through the skills that we have. And we're meant to touch our own life, our family's life, and more people in the world. It's amazing how you can change a life through just one simple interaction. We have the ability to touch lives every single day. So, and you have touched our life here at Whole Soul School and Foundation, Mary. I'm so grateful you joined us today.
Thank you. It's been an honor. Thank you.
Thank you. And I want to say thank you to all of our listeners for joining us here in the Mind, Body, Spirit Fitness podcast. And I want to invite you to visit our website at wholesoulschoolandfoundation.org. You can find us on YouTube. And you can find us on all the social media platforms. We have a lot of sprinklings of inspiration. We have podcasts every month, and we have wonderful guests like Mary Lozano joining us today, sharing her wisdom and her messages and her gifts. And I'm so grateful. And I just want to say, where can people find more information about you?
They can find me at www.restoringtheflow.com.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. And I'll be sure to include that link in the description section of the video. So thank you, everybody. If you enjoyed this podcast and you would like to make a small donation to Whole Soul School and Foundation, we are grateful for every donation, and to our sustainer donors, and for all of your support with your time, attention, and positive energy. So thank you. And until next time, blessings, everyone. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you.